Hello, on this edition of Commuter Connections, we'll introduce you to an initiative that's placing live music in transit. Our sister agency, MDTA, has a project underway to repair the I-895 bridge. We'll show you. And we'll visit with Professor Byrne to see what he's working on. All here on this edition of Commuter Connections. In an effort to make your transit experience a pleasant and enjoyable one, MDOT-MTA has launched an initiative which brings live music to Metro Subway Link. It's called Music in Transit. And MDOT-MTA Administrator Kevin Quinn joins us with more on this exciting program. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Sandy.
So tell us about Music in Transit. How did you come up with this idea for MDOT-MTA?
Yeah, so I had taken a trip to Denver. I was going to a conference, and they have 16th Street in Denver, great all-transit street, and they had pianos out there, and they really activated that public space with pianos and other instruments, and I said, why can't we have that here in Baltimore? And so I reached out to some folks at the Maryland State Arts Council who helped us to really put this program together.
It sounds like a great idea,
Yeah.
a wonderful idea. So just walk us through it a little bit of how you actually got it all going and what preparations were needed to make it all happen.
So I had reached out to the Maryland State Arts Council, who just a big shout out to them for all their support of this. You know, getting arts and music in people's lives is just so critically important. I mean, you think about the day-to-day. You know, you go to work every morning, and it's just the same old humdrum routine, right? And so what a great way to get music in people's lives as they're starting their day, they're ending their day, put a smile on people's faces. So the folks at the Maryland State Arts Council said, sure, we can find some pianos, and so they donated 5 pianos to us. Some of our shop guys took one of them and just threw some black paint on it. We moved it over into our metro station, and the Maryland State Arts Council was kind enough to help hook us up with a pianist who came in and was able to play for us.
Okay, I did hear that you launched with a musician. Tell us a little about that.
We did. So Isaiah Darius was our pianist that came in, so it was right before the Christmas holidays. And so he came in and played on this beautiful upright piano. And so as people were coming to work in the morning, you know, just a few days before the Christmas holiday, they were able to hear some great holiday music and other classical songs that he was playing. And you could see people turning around saying, whoa, what is that? That's different, you know. And so I think people were really surprised and loved hearing, you know, some beautiful piano music, you know, at 7 in the morning, you know, going through the metro station. You know, it's fantastic.
And which metro station was it?
So it's our Charles Center metro station, and it's kind of in between the east and the west, but more on the east side between St. Paul and Calvert Streets, but underground on the mezzanine level. And so folks can walk over and check it out, or you can hear it, you know, from a distance as well.
That sounds wonderful. So it sounds like the people have been very receptive.
Oh, they've been absolutely receptive to this. Mm-hmm. You know, again, just having that music in their lives to start the day, to end the day, I mean, there's no better thing. And so one other really cool piece of this is how anybody can play it. Any of our riders can play it, you know. Yeah, so, you know, while we're going to bring in musicians from time to time, anyone can come up and play it. And this is the beauty of what's worked in places like Paris and LA and London and Denver, where they've set up these programs, is anybody can just walk up and start playing, and people gather and they say, whoa, you know, this guy's playing some really great music, you know, I want to listen to that. And it just it brings a lot of joy to people's lives when they can hear that.
It always brings people together.
Yeah.
Now, was there a cost to MDOT-MTA for this project?
There was no cost to it. No more cost than a can of paint. You know, our folks, you know, lovingly kind of threw some paint on that piano. We got these donated by the State Arts Council, and we got it up and running really quite quickly.
And I hear there's a little message on the piano.
It does. So it does say, play us a song, I'm the Piano Man. So sort of an homage to the Billy Joel song, Piano Man, that we thought was pretty clever. And so, you know, again, other places around the country, around the world have also put in place little phrases or things like that to really get people engaged and invite them to come up and play. You know, it's about, you know, as people are walking by, inviting them to come up and really take part in that music.
Now, are there certain hours that you can play the piano, or is it just any time that the Metro Subway Link station is open?
So anytime the station is open, roughly 5 a.m. to midnight, folks can come in and walk up to the piano, or they may hear a musician that we've brought in playing right there.
Okay. And I know you said there are many other transit agencies around the country that are doing something similar, and it's been successful. So
yeah, I think a lot of people have seen it, especially in New York in the subway system. You know, you can go down into that New York subway and there's people playing music and as they're waiting for their train. And so, you know, again, we wanted to really emulate that experience here.
So with the 5 pianos that were donated, where are some of the other places that the pianos may be placed?
So we're checking out some other Metro stations right now that would be good fits for them. You know, you want to put it in a great place, so location is key when you're putting a piano down in a Metro station. You want to be sure there's activity around it. So we're taking a look at Metro stations, and then potentially in the warmer weather, you know, if we can get one out at a MARC station or a light rail station, getting music out there as well. And if we can't get a piano out there, you know, are there other musicians that we can have out there playing music as people are boarding trains or buses or something like that. So again, it's not just about getting the arts and music in the Metro, but it's really, you know, inviting all of our riders all around our system, all around the city to take part in that.
And from the time you thought about this idea, how long did it take to actually make it happen?
So I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months. Not
too long.
Not too long. And we were able to make it happen pretty quickly. I think the toughest thing was arranging, you know, to go pick up the pianos and get them, and where were we going to store them, and who were we going to get to, you know, paint this one, and how are we going to get it then over to the Metro station. It was more the logistics kind of planning than anything else.
Now, do you think there'll be other cool messages on some of the other pianos?
Yes, absolutely. So we have some other ones in store. I'm not going to talk about it here. Those are fun surprises, but certainly we'll have some other fun messages for our riders out on the other pianos.
Sounds great. So if people want more information about music in transit, where can they go?
So best place is our website, mta.maryland.gov. People can also sign up for email updates, and I'd say just check the website, sign up for those emails, and then we will be making announcements as we get people booked. And in the meantime, you know, we encourage all of our riders, all of our great piano playing riders to step up and, you know, jump in there and feel free to play the piano that's right there for their use.
Now, you know, I have to ask, have you tickled the keys yet?
So I have not. So I have 3 years of piano lessons that my grandmother taught me many years ago. But my 2 kids both take piano, and so I have talked to them about getting them down there and playing some music, which would be a lot of fun. I know. I've thought about having my kids down there, and so we may see if we can get them down there as musicians.
Well, what a wonderful way to improve the transit experience. Kevin, thanks so much for coming on and talking to us about this.
Thank you, Sandy.
Up next, a look at an important project our sister agency, MDTA, has underway, which is making needed repairs to the heavily traveled I-895 bridge. We've got an update on that project just ahead. Stay with us.
They say that when you're facing extreme danger, your life flashes before you. If you think that's sad, consider facing it before you even have enough life to flash before your eyes. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Deaths and injuries can be prevented by using the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to know what is appropriate for each age and size.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Our sister agency, MDTA, recently began an important construction project, which is making needed repairs to the heavily traveled I-895 bridge. The project is affecting traffic patterns and travel in the region. And MDTA Executive Director Kevin Reigert joins us with information on how to navigate around the construction that's underway. Welcome to Commuter Connections.
Good morning, Sandy. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So for viewers who may not be familiar with the I-895 bridge construction project, tell us a little bit about it and why is this project necessary?
Sure. So the I-895 bridge carries motorists north-south on one of the most heavily traveled interstate corridors in the country. The bridge was constructed in the early 1950s and last rehabilitated in the mid-1980s. So people who have driven on the 895 bridge can recognize the road surface looks like a patchwork of concrete. And that's because the facility's just getting old, needs a significant rehabilitation, and we made the determination that the best approach would be to replace the bridge in its entirety, giving people a newer, more reliable, safer bridge that'll last 100 years.
Okay, and how's that project coming along so far?
Very, very well so far. Mother Nature's been cooperating. That's always a challenge in a construction project of this nature and magnitude. Had a little bit of weather over the weekend, but so far the project seems to be very much on schedule. We've actually started work on this earlier this spring with some of the substructure work. So it's been moving along pretty aggressively, and now what people are starting to see is the real nuts and bolts of fully reconstructing a bridge. We've got a full closure of the northbound lanes. Holabird Avenue exit 10 is closed now as well. And there's actual deconstruction of the old bridge facility taking place right now as we speak.
Oh, okay. And I was going to ask you, like, when did the construction actually begin? Because I know it has been underway for a little while now.
Right. So the contractor initiated the second phase of the project about a week and a half after Thanksgiving. And that's where they started to make some modifications to the travel patterns. That's where people started to see those lane closures and started to see the impact of the delays that are going to be in place for around 3 years. This isn't a small project, but one of the things that we did is we adopted a get in, get out approach, specifically designed to get this bridge constructed and restored to our customers as quickly as possible.
Okay. And is all of the work being done at one time, or will it be done in phases?
It's going to be a phased approach. Okay. So the first phase involves taking that northbound span, moving all traffic over to the southbound span. That's already happened. So we've got two-way traffic on the southbound span right now. This spring, when it warms up a little bit, we're going to have a 60-day lane closure of one of the two bores that actually it's done in operation with the existing bridge work that's going on. Now, when the tunnels close, that means two-way traffic operating in those tunnels for 60 days. And that's a place where we really want to ask customers to focus on their driving. Put down the cell phone, put down the distractions, because in a two-way traffic pattern in a tunnel, there's not a lot of room to negotiate or maneuver. The same applies out on the bridge itself, but especially in those tunnels where there's close proximity to oncoming traffic, people really need to be paying attention to what they're doing.
So what message has your agency given to commuters who routinely travel along I-895?
So we have two major messages for our customers. The first is avoid 895 if at all possible. 95 is a great alternate route. We just finished a major infrastructure project to add a full lane of traffic northbound and southbound on 95. So we've got that new capacity. People can actually take advantage of that. We also recommend 695 across the Key Bridge as an alternate. The Curtis Creek Drawbridge project is complete. We've restored traffic on 695, so that's a good alternate roadway. But most importantly, for anyone who needs to use 895, you have to be particularly careful. It's a major work zone with two-way traffic, bidirectional traffic. So we need our customers to be very focused on their driving itself. We want to make sure that they're slowing down, leaving plenty of space between them and the car that they're following to make sure that they can get where they want to go safely. We've got a couple of tools in place for our customers to monitor traffic conditions, and we've installed a really unique traffic monitoring system that allows us to actually have real-time information about vehicle accidents, vehicles stopped, etc. So people can visit our website at mdta.maryland.gov or visit us on Twitter at #895BMore and get that information so that they can be as best educated as possible to make a decision on what the best route's going to be for them.
That's a lot of good advice, and definitely no distracted driving. So just pay attention to what you're doing, especially going through those tunnels.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, in a circumstance where there's a work zone exists, workers are always at risk. You've got men and women who should be able to go home safely to their families in the exact same way that everybody else should. But what we've actually experienced both in Maryland and elsewhere is that the incidents and accidents that happen in a work zone don't generally involve workers. They involve motorists who are operating in a circumstance that's not exactly what they're used to. It's a different traffic pattern that they've seen before. And in the case of this project, in a very constrained environment. So being particularly cognizant of being safe, paying attention, avoiding distractions is absolutely crucial.
Now, has there been another project of this magnitude compared to other, road projects that go on in Maryland?
So happily, MDTA is in the big project business. We own, operate, and maintain 8 facilities in the state of Maryland. That includes the Fort McHenry Tunnel, the Harbor Tunnel, and the Key Bridge, but it also includes the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, the Intercounty Connector, the express toll lanes on I-95. So we've been doing big projects like this for quite some time.
Okay.
We've got a lot of experience with conducting major projects like this, and most importantly, we've got experience with delivering them on time to our customers in a way that disrupts their daily lives as minimally as possible. But this one's going to be a big deal. It's a major project. It's a long bridge. It's an old bridge. It's going to take us a while to get that job right. But once we do, the traffic patterns that we're going to be able to restore, people are going to be able to take advantage of that newer, safer bridge for generations to come.
So how long do you, how often do you do a project like this? Like how, a major upgrade of a roadway like this? With
a bridge in particular, you're generally looking at a useful lifespan of 75 to 100 years. If a bridge is built really, really well, it can actually last even longer than that, as long as you have a very solid preventative maintenance program in place. This bridge has really given us her very best. It's just that it's a heavily used roadway, used by cars and a whole bunch of trucks that are coming out of the port and the city of Baltimore. So it's just taken a beating over those years. And to be able to get in there and again, to really restore that traffic pattern to people in a way that it's going to fundamentally change the nature of the way that people drive through the city. Right now today, because of the nature of the condition of that bridge, we have potholes that pop up periodically. We have other kinds of road conditions that require us to do unplanned, unanticipated lane closures in order to be able to fix the problem that we have. And it's pretty easy to understand why that's happening. You can only put so much blacktop down on a surface that can't hold it and hope that that patch is going to keep you where you want to be. So anybody who's driven, again, they know that that road surface has been very rough, it's been very inconsistent, and those issues do pop up quite a bit. Once that new bridge is open, the days of doing routine painting and patching are pretty much behind us. Now, with any road surface, we're going to need to do continuous and ongoing preventative maintenance. But because of the nature of the way that MDTA operates, we're a non-budgeted state agency. Every penny that goes into our operations and our capital program comes from those people that are using our toll facilities and paying to be able to do so. We want to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to do a really robust job of preventative maintenance. It means orange barrels, it means traffic cones, and sometimes it means traffic disruptions. But the most important thing that it means is that people have a safe drive.
Right, so it may be a little bit of an inconvenience now, but it will pay off in the long run.
That's absolutely true.
Now, how many people actually use that bridge?
So under ordinary circumstances, we see in the high tens of thousands of people each and every day. More during the week, but it's a very heavily traveled corridor.
That's a lot of folks coming through there. And what is the cost of this project?
So the project is budgeted at $189 million. And I want to tell you, that's a real success story for the state of Maryland, for MDTA, and for our customers. Because the estimates that came in for this massive bridge reconstruction came well under estimates. We had great competition, a lot of people interested in the project. It's both challenging because of the nature of that roadway. People who have driven along 895 know it goes right underneath 95. But it's also, I mean, it's a big project. So we had a lot of competition, a lot of great participation in that project. And again, anytime we can deliver this massive an upgrade and save some money that we can reinvest into other parts of our facilities, that's a win-win.
So again, if people want to get more information, they can sign up, go on the website?
Absolutely. So I'd recommend, again, hashtag 895BeMore. That's our Twitter feed for this program, where we're sending routine information about conditions and what it is that's going on. MDTA's website also has great information, mdta.maryland.gov. And most importantly, if you go to the website, you can actually sign up for tailored notifications either on the 895 project or any facility in MDTA's inventory that you're interested in traveling on, to be able to get information before you get into your car to let you know what your drive is going to be like.
Kevin, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with the I-895 bridge construction project.
Thank you, and thanks for helping us get this important message out there.
You bet. It's time to visit Professor Byrne, our nerdy, eccentric, but very knowledgeable go-to person for an understanding of all things technical and scientific in transportation. On this edition of the program, Professor Byrne meets up with MDOT MTA Administrator Kevin Quinn for a look at transit signal priority.
Hi, Professor Byrne. Should I even ask what this is? A new fuel additive?
Good morning, Administrator. Oh, it's just something I'm brewing. How may I help you today?
Well, Professor Byrne, I'm very excited about how we're improving bus travel times using TSP. Can you please help explain it to me?
I'd be glad to explain TSP, but first, it's just about ready. Perfectly brewed tea. Anyway, yes, TSP, that's Transit Signal Priority. As you know, that's the technology that enables our buses to move more efficiently through intersections.
Exactly. In some cases, we've been able to reduce travel times by up to 20% using TSP.
Absolutely. Now, before we discuss TSP, we first need to discuss how traffic signals work. To start with, there are two types of intersections, fixed time and actuated. With fixed time, the lights endlessly display their green, yellow, red lights, regardless of traffic conditions, into all lanes of the intersection. Whereas with actuated, which is the more common by the way, the lights only go green based on knowing if traffic is waiting for the light.
Cool. So that explains why some lights only go green if cars are waiting.
Exactly. Now, a basic intersection has three parts. There's the traffic lights, the signal controller, and vehicle detection. The signal controller is the computerized brains that controls everything. And the vehicle detection, that's circuitry that's buried under the roadway in the approach to the intersection.
Professor Byrne, that's so interesting. So how does it all work?
Great question, Administrator. Traffic intersections are programmed with a timing plan. And this is done by a traffic signals engineer, a great career, by the way. Now, what's a timing plan? So, a timing plan shows the cycle time for the intersection. Let's assume our intersection has a 120-second cycle. That means if you're watching the light, it will go green every 120 seconds. Now, the cycle is broken into phases, the green, the yellow, and the red. In our intersection, the timing plan shows 70 seconds for the green phase, 10 seconds for the yellow phase, and 40 seconds for the red phase.
That's so cool, Professor Byrne. So how do we add TSP to an intersection?
I'm getting to that. Next, we have to add the TSP equipment. The TSP equipment includes a TSP radio and a phase selector, which gets added into the signal controller. We also add TSP equipment onto every bus, and that includes a global position system or GPS receiver, a TSP controller, and a TSP radio.
That's a lot of parts, Professor Byrne. So how does TSP work?
Great question, Administrator. The intersection uses its TSP radio to broadcast what I call a TSP request. Now, the buses gather their speed, position, and heading from GPS satellite data, and when a bus hears a TSP invitation, it replies back with a TSP request, along with telling the intersection its current position and speed.
So the bus is saying, "Can I please have a green light?"
Not exactly that simple, but close enough. The TSP phase selector receives the TSP request from the bus, along with other information, and decides whether to grant it signal priority. Now, this is based on certain conditions, such as, would the bus already get a green light?
That's fascinating. So what happens if a bus is granted priority?
You're full of great questions today, Administrator. There are two TSP scenarios that can happen. The first is called green light extension. And in this scenario, the light is green, but our bus is slightly too far away and it's going to miss the light. Well, let's revisit the timing plan for our intersection and recall that our green phase is normally 70 seconds long. In this scenario, the TSP phase selector will extend our green phase by, in this case, 10 seconds. Thus, TSP is holding the light green long enough for our bus to clear the intersection.
Wow, I wish I had a button in my own car for that.
Oh, don't we all, Administrator? Anyway, the other TSP scenario is called shortened red light or red light truncation. And in this scenario, the light is red for the approaching bus. Recall that our red phase is normally 40 seconds. Well, in this scenario, TSP will shorten the red light by, in this case, 10 seconds. Thus, the light comes back to green earlier to allow our bus to clear the intersection.
Wow, that's amazing, Professor Byrne. I'd like to see the TSP equipment on the bus.
Absolutely, Administrator. Let's go to a bus division and check it out. Would you care for some tea first?
No thanks, Professor Byrne. I prefer a French press over test tubes and beakers.
Yes. Administrator, I've asked our Director of Bus Maintenance, Dave Byrne, to give us access to a bus to see the TSP equipment.
That's great. Hi, Dave. How are you today?
Hello, Mr. Quinn. I'm doing great.
Mr. Byrne, I can't say how much I appreciate you helping us today. I wanted to show the Administrator the TSP equipment on the bus.
Of course, Professor Byrne. You know I love working on your special projects, but safety first. I must require the use of fall protection before you go on the bus.
Wow, quite a view from up here.
Absolutely. Administrator, check this out. Inside this device is the TSP radio and the GPS antenna.
Cool. So every bus has these installed?
Absolutely, Administrator. Our entire bus fleet is now TSP equipped. And in fact, we're continuing to outfit more intersections with TSP equipment. You see, by avoiding red light waiting times at multiple intersections, TSP can provide an overall substantial time savings benefit to improve our bus service for the public.
Professor Byrne, I can't thank you enough for describing how TSP works and how it improves our bus service.
My pleasure, Administrator.
Well, I've learned so much today. Now, I just have to get off this bus safely.
Thanks, Professor Byrne, for that interesting look at transit signal priority. That brings us to the end of another edition of Commuter Connections. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.